Before I loved her, I trusted her. Before I trusted her, I needed her. And before I needed her, I should have seen what she really was. My name is Patricia Drummond. I'm 73 years old. And 6 months ago, my daughter-in-law tried to kill me, not with a gun or a knife or poison in my tea. No, Jennifer was far too clever for that. She hid my heart medication and waited for nature to do the work. And when I finally collapsed on my kitchen floor, gasping like a fish pulled from water, she stood over me with her phone in her hand and smiled. Actually smiled. Then she dialed 911 and put on the performance of her life. But I survived. And when I did, I made sure she lost everything. I need you to understand something before I tell you the rest. I wasn't always this suspicious. I wasn't always the type of woman who checks locks twice and keeps important documents in a safe deposit box 3 towns over. 20 months ago, I was just a widow, trying to make peace with loneliness, trying to be grateful that my son Marcus had found someone who made him happy. Jennifer seemed like an answer to prayers I hadn't known I was praying. She was attentive. She was warm. She called me Mom within 3 months of dating Marcus, and when she said it, it sounded genuine. I was 62 when I married Robert Drummond. He was 65. We had 11 good years before the cancer took him, and in those 11 years, he built us a comfortable life. Robert was a civil engineer, meticulous with money, careful with investments. When he died in February of 2022, he left me the house in Millbrook, a 4-bedroom colonial on 2 acres with a view of the ridge, and a portfolio that generated enough income that I never had to worry. Not wealthy, comfortable, secure. Marcus is my only child. I had him young, too young probably, at 19 with a man who left before Marcus learned to walk. I raised my boy alone, working double shifts at the hospital as a nurse, putting every spare dollar into his education. He became a physical therapist, a good one, with his own practice and a reputation for getting results with difficult cases. I was proud. God, I was so proud. He met Jennifer in the summer of 2023 at a continuing education seminar in Burlington. She was a pharmaceutical sales representative, 37 years old, divorced, no children. Pretty in that careful way some women are. Highlighted hair, manicured nails, clothes that looked expensive even when they probably weren't. She laughed at Marcus's jokes and touched his arm when she talked to him and called me 2 weeks after they started dating to introduce herself. "Mrs. Drummond," she said, and her voice was warm honey. "Marcus talks about you constantly. I just wanted to reach out and let you know how much I'm looking forward to meeting you." We met for lunch in August. Marcus drove us both to a little bistro in Woodstock, and Jennifer ordered for all of us without asking, then apologized and laughed and said she was just so used to making decisions at work that sometimes she forgot to turn it off. She asked about Robert, and when I teared up talking about him, she reached across the table and held my hand. "You must miss him terribly," she said. I did. I missed him like an amputated limb, and here was this woman acknowledging it, making space for it. Marcus beamed at her like she'd just cured cancer. They were engaged by October, married in December, a small ceremony at the house with 20 guests and a buffet I helped Jennifer plan. She insisted I walk her down the aisle alongside her own father, who barely spoke and left immediately after dinner. Later, Jennifer told me her parents had never approved of her, never saw her worth. She cried when she said it, and I held her and promised her that I saw her worth, that I loved her like my own daughter. That was my first mistake, loving her. The second mistake was trusting her. It started small. Little things you tell yourself don't mean anything. In January of 2024, Jennifer suggested Marcus and I update our estate documents. Marcus had named me as his power of attorney years ago, and I'd named him as mine. Simple, straightforward. But Jennifer said we should all see a lawyer together, make sure everything was modernized and proper. "These things are so important, Mom," she said over coffee in my kitchen, "and honestly, if anything happened to Marcus, I'd want to make sure I could take care of you the way he'd want. We should make it official." It sounded reasonable, caring even. So in February, we all went to see Howard Brennan, a lawyer in Millbrook who'd handled Robert's estate. Jennifer sat beside me during the appointment, holding my hand, while Howard explained medical directives and durable powers of attorney. "Patricia," Howard said, "you currently have Marcus listed as your primary agent. Are you comfortable adding Jennifer as co-agent, or would you prefer to keep it just to Marcus?" Jennifer squeezed my hand. "Whatever you're comfortable with, Mom. I just want to help." "Both of them," I said. "They're my family." Howard drew up the papers. I signed, Marcus signed, Jennifer signed. We went to dinner afterward to celebrate, Jennifer's idea, and she insisted on paying even though I offered. She toasted to family, and her eyes were shining, and I thought, this is what it's like to have a daughter, this warmth, this care. I was so stupid. In March, Jennifer started coming by the house more often, twice a week, then 3 times, then almost daily. She'd bring groceries, help with laundry, sit with me while we watched old movies. She noticed things too. She noticed the kitchen faucet dripped and called a plumber. She noticed the living room carpet was worn and suggested we go shopping for a new one. She noticed my bedroom looked tired and spent a weekend helping me repaint it a soft blue-gray that she said would help me sleep better. "You do so much for everyone else," she'd say. "Let me do this for you." Marcus was thrilled. "She loves you, Mom," he told me. "She tells me all the time how lucky she feels to have you in her life." In April, Jennifer noticed my medications. I have a whole pharmacy on my kitchen counter. Pills for blood pressure, for cholesterol, for the arrhythmia that's been trying to kill me since I was 68. Most important are the beta blockers and the blood thinner. Miss them for a day and I feel it. Miss them for 3 days and I'm in danger. Miss them for a week and I could stroke out or have a cardiac episode that puts me in the ground. "Mom, this is chaos," Jennifer said, eyeing the orange bottles scattered across the counter. "You need a system." She bought me a weekly pill organizer, one of those big ones with 4 compartments per day, morning, noon, evening, bedtime. And she sat at my kitchen table for 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon and sorted everything out. She labeled each compartment with little stickers. She made a chart listing every medication, every dosage, every instruction. "There," she said when she finished. "Now you'll never miss a dose." It was thoughtful. It was helpful. And it gave her complete familiarity with every pill I took, every bottle I needed, and exactly where I kept them. By May, Jennifer had a key to my house. Marcus gave it to her because, as he said, "What if something happens to you and we can't get in fast enough?" She had the code to my alarm system. She had the password to my laptop because she'd helped me set up online banking. She knew where I kept my insurance papers, my medical records, my checkbook. She knew everything. And then in June, things started to go wrong. The first incident was small, forgettable. I reached for my pill organizer on a Tuesday morning and found it empty. Completely empty. Every single compartment, every single day of the week. I stood there staring at it, my heart doing that fluttery thing it does when the arrhythmia acts up, and I couldn't understand it. I'd just refilled it on Sunday. Jennifer had been there, sitting with me while I counted out pills, making sure I had everything right. I called her. "Jennifer, honey, I think I made a mistake. My pill organizer is empty." She arrived within 20 minutes. "Mom, what do you mean empty?" "I mean, there's nothing in it, not a single pill." She picked up the organizer, examined it, frowned. "That's so strange. We filled this together 2 days ago. I watched you do it." "I know, I don't understand. Have you been confused lately? Forgetful?" "No, I mean, no more than usual." She put a hand on my shoulder. "It's okay, Mom. It happens. Let me help you refill it right now, okay? We'll do it together." So we did. She was patient and kind and reassuring, and I felt foolish for worrying her. Maybe I had been confused. Maybe I'd emptied it myself for some reason I couldn't remember. I was 72 years old. Memory slips happen. Except they kept happening. A week later, I couldn't find my blood pressure medication, the whole bottle. I searched every cabinet, every drawer, every surface in the kitchen. Jennifer came over and helped me look, and we finally found it in the bathroom closet behind the towels. "Mom, why would you put it there?" she asked. "I didn't. At least, I don't think I did." She exchanged a look with Marcus. Just a glance, barely a second, but I saw it. Concern. The kind of concern you have for someone who's slipping. "Maybe we should talk to your doctor," Marcus said. "Make sure everything's okay." "I'm fine," I snapped. "I'm not senile." "No one's saying you are," Jennifer said quickly. We just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. In July, I missed 3 doses of my blood thinner because the bottle was empty when I went to refill my organizer, and I could have sworn I'd just picked up the prescription the week before. I called the pharmacy. They confirmed I'd picked it up 8 days ago, 30 pills, enough for a month. There should be 22 pills left, the pharmacist said. There were 0. Jennifer said maybe I'd been double dosing without realizing it. Marcus said maybe we should look into in-home care, just someone to check on me once a day. I said absolutely not. I was perfectly capable of managing my own medication, and could everyone please stop treating me like I was incompetent? But privately, I was scared, because I didn't remember moving that bottle. I didn't remember emptying the organizer. And if I wasn't doing these things, then what was wrong with me? Was this how it started? This slow slide into confusion and helplessness? I made an appointment with my doctor, Dr. Reeves, for early August. He ran blood tests, did a cognitive screening, checked my medication levels. Everything came back normal. "Patricia, you're fine," he said. "Your memory is intact. Your cognition is excellent for your age. There's no indication of dementia or any neurological decline." Then why do I keep losing things? Why can't I remember? Stress, maybe. Grief. It's only been 2 years since Robert died. Sometimes our minds protect us in strange ways. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe I was just stressed, just grieving, just going through a rough patch. But that little voice in the back of my head, the one that had kept me safe through a hard life, whispered that something else was happening, something deliberate. I started paying attention. In mid-August, Jennifer came by on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the garden, weeding the tomato bed, and I heard her car in the driveway. She let herself in through the front door. She had a key, it was fine, and called out a hello. I called back that I'd be in soon, just finishing up, and I heard her moving around inside the house. When I came in 15 minutes later, she was sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of water. "I organized your medication." "Cabinet?" she said brightly. "It was getting messy again. Everything's nice and neat now." "Thank you, honey." But after she left, I checked the cabinet. My bottles were rearranged, yes, neat and tidy. But when I counted the pills in my beta blocker bottle, there were 6 fewer than there should have been. I counted twice, 3 times. Definitely 6 pills missing. I didn't say anything. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I started keeping a log. Every day I wrote down how many pills were in each bottle. I photographed the bottles with my phone. I noted the dates I refilled prescriptions and the exact count when I picked them up. And the numbers didn't lie. Pills were disappearing, not many. Never enough that a normal person would notice. 3 here, 5 there. My blood pressure medication, my arrhythmia pills. Most worryingly, my blood thinner. Someone was taking them, and the only person with access besides me was Jennifer. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to ask Marcus what the hell was going on, but I had no proof, not really. Just missing pills and a terrible suspicion that grew heavier every day. What if I was wrong? What if I really was confused, really was forgetting? What if I accused her and destroyed their marriage over my own failing mind? So I waited, and I watched, and I set a trap. On September the 3rd, 2024, I bought a small motion-activated camera and hid it in the kitchen, tucked behind the cookbooks on the shelf with a view of the medication cabinet. Then I told Jennifer I was going to visit my sister in Maine for a few days. I made a big production of it, showed her my overnight bag, asked her to water my plants while I was gone. "Of course, Mom," she said. "You have a wonderful time. Don't worry about anything." I didn't go to Maine. I went to a hotel in Burlington, 25 miles away, and I watched the camera feed on my phone. Jennifer came to the house the next morning at 9:15. She let herself in. She went straight to the kitchen, and she opened the medication cabinet. I watched her on my phone screen, my heart hammering so hard, I thought I might pass out right there in the hotel room. She took out 4 bottles, my blood pressure medication, my beta blocker, my blood thinner, and the diuretic I take for fluid retention. One by one, she opened them. One by one, she removed pills. Not many. 5 from one bottle, 3 from another. She was careful, methodical, putting the bottles back exactly where they had been, closing the cabinet door softly. Then she walked to the kitchen sink and dropped the pills down the garbage disposal. She ran water. She flipped the switch. The disposal ground everything up in 5 seconds. She wiped down the cabinet handles with her sleeve. She checked her reflection in the microwave door, smoothed her hair, and she left. I sat on the hotel bed and watched that video 7 times. 7 times, and every time I saw the same thing. My daughter-in-law, the woman who called me mom, the woman I'd welcomed into my family and my home, was stealing my medication. Not to take it herself, not to sell it, just to dispose of it, to make sure I didn't have it when I needed it. She was trying to kill me, slowly, carefully, in a way that would look like natural causes or my own failing mind. I threw up in the hotel bathroom. Then, I copied the video file to 3 different cloud storage accounts, emailed it to myself at 2 different addresses, and called my lawyer. Howard Brennan met me at his office the next morning. I showed him the video. His face went gray. "Patricia, this is attempted murder." "I know. We need to go to the police immediately." "Not yet. I need to understand why first, and I need to protect myself legally before she realizes I know." Howard didn't like it, but he understood. We spent 3 hours going over my estate documents, my power of attorney, my will. Jennifer had co-power of attorney with Marcus. That meant if I became incapacitated, she could make medical decisions for me. She could pull the plug if I was on life support. She could authorize do not resuscitate orders. "I want to revoke her authority," I said, "immediately." "We can do that. But Patricia, she'll know something's wrong when she finds out." "Let her know. I want her to sweat." We drew up the revocation paperwork that day. I signed it. Howard filed it with the county. Jennifer's power of attorney was void as of September 5th, 2024. I drove home from Burlington that evening. Jennifer's car was in my driveway. She was in the kitchen when I came in, pulling a casserole out of the oven. "Mom, you're home early. I thought you weren't coming back until tomorrow. I made your favorite, chicken and rice casserole." "Thank you, honey. I decided to cut the trip short." "Is everything okay? Is your sister all right?" "She's fine. I just missed my own bed." Jennifer smiled. She served me a plate of casserole. She sat with me while I ate and asked about Maine, about my sister, about the drive. She was attentive and warm and absolutely convincing. I finished eating. I thanked her for dinner, and after she left, I threw the entire casserole in the garbage, plate and all, and ordered takeout from the Chinese restaurant in town. I wasn't taking any chances. The next morning, I called Marcus and asked him to come by alone. He arrived at 10, confused but willing. "Mom, what's going on? Jennifer said you seemed off last night." I handed him my phone with the video queued up. "Watch this." He watched. I saw the color drain from his face. He watched it again. Then he looked at me with eyes that were drowning. "Mom, there has to be an explanation. The explanation is that your wife has been stealing my medication for months. The explanation is she's trying to kill me." "That's insane. Jennifer loves you. She would never." "Watch the video again, Marcus. Watch her put my pills down the garbage disposal. Watch her destroy the medication that keeps my heart beating. Then tell me she loves me." He watched it a 3rd time. His hands were shaking. "Why would she do this?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." Marcus stayed for 2 hours. We talked in circles, him trying to find innocent explanations, me calmly dismantling each one. Finally, he called Jennifer and asked her to come over. She arrived 20 minutes later, bright and cheerful. "What's going on? Is everything okay?" Marcus showed her the video. I watched her face. I watched the exact moment she understood. Her smile didn't falter, her expression didn't change. But something shifted behind her eyes, something cold and calculating that I'd never seen before. "I don't understand," she said. "When was this taken?" 3 days ago," I said, "while I was supposedly in Maine. But I did go to your house that day. You asked me to water the plants. And you went straight to my medication cabinet. Because I was checking if you needed any refills. I do that every time I come over, Mom. You know that." "And the pills down the disposal?" She blinked. "What pills?" "The ones you took from 4 different bottles, the ones you destroyed." "I didn't destroy anything. I was organizing. There were some expired pills in the back of the cabinet, and I disposed of them properly. My prescriptions are all current. None of them are expired. Then I must have made a mistake. I'm sorry if I threw away something you needed. I was trying to help." Her voice was steady. Her hands were steady. She looked me right in the eyes and lied without a single tell. Marcus looked between us, desperate. "Jennifer, just tell the truth, please." "I am telling the truth. I have no idea what you think I've done, but I would never hurt Mom. I love her." I stood up. "Get out of my house." "Mom, my name is Patricia. You don't get to call me Mom anymore, and I want you out of my house right now." Jennifer stood. She collected her purse. She turned to Marcus. "Are you coming?" He looked at me. He looked at her. "I need to stay here." "Marcus, if you stay, we're going to have a serious problem. If I leave, we're going to have a bigger one." She left. The door closed behind her with a soft click, and the temperature in the room seemed to rise by 10 degrees. Marcus sat back down. He put his head in his hands. "What do I do, Mom?" "You believe me. That's what you do." "I believe the video, but I don't understand why she'd do this. What does she gain from you being sick? From you dying?" That was the question, wasn't it? I was comfortable, but not wealthy. My house was valuable, but not outrageously so. My monthly income covered my expenses with enough left over for savings, but it wouldn't change anyone's life to inherit it. What could Jennifer possibly gain that was worth committing murder? I started digging into her background. Howard Brennan connected me with a private investigator named Karen Wu. Karen was 60 years old, compact and efficient, with gray hair cut short and eyes that missed nothing. She came to my house on Spa Neir, September 10th, and I told her everything. "I need to know who Jennifer really is," I said. "I need to know what she's after." Karen nodded. "How much do you know about her past?" "Just what she's told us. She was married before, divorced about 5 years ago. No kids. Parents are still alive, but they're estranged. She works in pharmaceutical sales." "Has she ever asked you for money?" "Never. She's always offering to help me, to pay for things." "What about your will? Does she inherit anything?" "No. Everything goes to Marcus. He inherits the house, the portfolio, everything. Jennifer only gets what's his if something happens to him." Karen wrote this down. "What if something happened to you while Marcus and Jennifer were still married? Community property state?" "Vermont's not community property, but if Marcus inherited and then they divorced, she'd be entitled to half of whatever he got from me during the marriage. So if you died while they were married, Marcus would inherit. If they stayed married, she'd eventually have access to half. But if they divorced before you died, she'd get nothing." "Right. And how's their marriage? Happy?" I thought about it, about the way Marcus looked at Jennifer lately, about the tension I'd sensed the last few times they'd been together, about little comments Marcus had made, offhand remarks about Jennifer working late, about Jennifer being stressed, about Jennifer suggesting they wait on having kids because her career was at a critical point. "I don't think it's as solid as it was," I said. Karen smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Then she has a deadline. If the marriage is failing, she needs you to die before they divorce. Otherwise, she loses access to your estate entirely." It made a cold, terrible sense. Karen started digging. It took her 2 weeks to come back with a preliminary report, and when she did, she brought a file 2 inches thick. "Patricia, your daughter-in-law has done this before." She laid out photographs, documents, printouts. Jennifer's maiden name was Halston. She'd been married twice before Marcus, not once. The first marriage ended in divorce after 3 years when Jennifer's husband, a man named Timothy Reeves, discovered she'd forged his signature on a home equity loan and emptied the account. He filed for divorce and pursued charges, but Jennifer paid back the money and Timothy dropped the case. The second marriage lasted 6 years. Jennifer's husband was a man named Douglas Chen, 63 years old when they married, 70 when he died. Douglas had Parkinson's disease. He died of what was ruled natural causes, complications from his condition, but it happened 3 weeks after Douglas told his son from his first marriage that he was planning to divorce Jennifer. Douglas's son contested the will. Jennifer settled out of court for an undisclosed amount and disappeared. "She's a black widow," Karen said. "She targets older men with money or with access to money. She marries in, plays the devoted wife, and then something happens. Either she bleeds them financially or they die and she inherits. When it gets too hot, she moves on. But Marcus isn't old. He's 43. No, but you are. And you're Marcus's only family. If you die, he inherits. If they stay married, she eventually gets half of what's yours. If Marcus is emotionally attached to her, she can probably control him enough to access more than half. She's been playing the long game. She's been playing the smart game. If you died 6 months from now, it would have looked like cardiac disease, natural causes. No one would have questioned it. She'd have been the grieving daughter-in-law who did everything she could to take care of you. I felt sick. What do? You go to the police. You show them the video. You show them this background, and you let them handle it. I wanted to. God, I wanted to hand this whole nightmare over to someone with a badge and let them deal with it. But I knew how these things worked. The video showed Jennifer taking pills, yes, but it didn't show her taking my pills specifically. A good lawyer would argue she was doing exactly what she claimed, disposing of expired medication. The background was circumstantial. Suspicious, yes, but not proof of anything. Douglas Chen's death had been ruled natural causes. Timothy Reeves hadn't pressed charges. I needed more. Not yet, I said. I need her to make a real move, something undeniable. Karen shook her head. Patricia, that's dangerous. If she's as smart as I think she is, then she'll try again, and this time, I'll be ready. I moved my important documents out of the house. Everything. Property deeds, insurance policies, investment statements, my will. I opened a safe deposit box in Burlington under Karen's name and put it all there. I changed my passwords on every account. I installed cameras in every room of the house, hidden where Jennifer would never find them. And I waited. Jennifer stayed away for a week after the confrontation. Then she started texting Marcus. Apologies, explanations, please to talk. He didn't respond. She texted me next. Mom, please let me explain. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. I love you and I miss you. I didn't respond either. On September 24th, 2024, Jennifer showed up at my house at 7 in the morning. I was having coffee on the back deck when I heard her car. I stayed where I was, let her come to me. She came through the side gate and she looked terrible. Hair unwashed, no makeup, wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. She'd lost weight. Her hands were shaking. Mom, please, I need to talk to you. You need to leave my property. I'm begging you, just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Against my better judgment, I nodded. 5 minutes? She sat down in the chair across from me. I know what you think I did, and I know how it looks. But you have to understand, I was only trying to help. By throwing away my medication. By managing it. Mom, you were getting confused. You were missing doses, mixing up pills. I was trying to organize things for you, and yes, I threw away some pills that I thought were expired. I made a mistake. I admit that, but it wasn't malicious. It was never malicious. She looked so sincere, so wounded. If I hadn't known better, if I hadn't seen the video, if Karen hadn't shown me the pattern, I might have believed her. What about your other husbands? I asked. She froze, just for a second, but I saw it. What? Timothy Reeves, Douglas Chen. What about them? I don't know what you're talking about. You were married to both of them before Marcus. Timothy divorced you for stealing from him. Douglas died 3 weeks after telling his son he planned to leave you. Jennifer stood up. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. You can leave. And you can stay away from my son and stay away from me. Because if you come near either of us again, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are and what you've done. You can't prove anything. I can prove enough. She left. And I thought that would be the end of it. I thought she'd cut her losses and run, find another Mark in another state, start the whole sick game over with someone who didn't know her history. I was wrong. On October 8th, 2024, at 6:30 in the morning, I woke up feeling wrong. My heart was racing. My chest felt tight. The room was spinning. I tried to get out of bed and my legs wouldn't hold me. I collapsed on the floor beside the bed, and the world went gray at the edges. I managed to pull myself up enough to grab my phone from the nightstand. I dialed 911. My fingers felt numb. The dispatcher answered. 911, what's your emergency? I tried to speak, but my voice came out slurred. Help? Heart? Can't breathe? Ma'am, I need you to stay calm. What's your address? I gave it to her, or I tried. The words were jumbled. She kept asking me to repeat myself. I was so tired. I wanted to lie down. I wanted to close my eyes. Ma'am, stay with me. I have an ambulance on the way. Is your door unlocked? No, locked. Is there anyone who can let the paramedics in? Jennifer. Jennifer had a key, but Jennifer had done this. Jennifer wanted me dead. If I told the dispatcher to call Jennifer, if Jennifer got here first, Sister, I slurred, call my sister. I gave the dispatcher my sister's number. I'd programmed it into my phone under Rachel Ice in case of emergency. The dispatcher called her. Rachel lived in Maine. It would take her 8 hours to get here. The paramedics broke down my front door. They found me unconscious on the bedroom floor. My heart rate was 28 beats per minute. My blood pressure was dangerously low. I was barely breathing. They intubated me right there in my bedroom and rushed me to the hospital. I don't remember any of this. I was told it later, pieced together from medical records and witness statements and Rachel's tearful retelling. What I do remember is waking up in the ICU 4 days later with a breathing tube down my throat and Rachel sitting beside my bed. They removed the tube that afternoon. My throat felt like I'd swallowed glass. Rachel held my hand while a nurse explained what had happened. Severe cardiac episode, likely caused by missing multiple doses of critical medication. They'd found my pill organizer at home, completely empty. They'd found my prescription bottles, all of them at least 2 weeks past due for refill. Patricia, when was the last time you took your medication? The doctor asked. I croaked out an answer. Every day. I take it every day. Your blood tests show otherwise. You had no therapeutic levels of any of your cardiac medications, not the beta blocker, not the blood thinner, not the blood pressure medication, nothing. That's impossible. I filled my organizer just last week. The doctor exchanged a look with Rachel, the kind of look medical professionals give each other when they think a patient is confused or lying. Mrs. Drummond, we found your organizer. It was empty. And according to your pharmacy, you haven't filled any of your prescriptions in over a month. Over a month? That couldn't be right. I'd been taking my pills every morning. I'd been counting them. I'd been logging them. Except I'd stopped logging them after I installed the cameras. I'd stopped photographing the bottles after I gave the evidence to Karen. I'd gotten complacent. And Jennifer had gotten smarter. Check my cameras, I whispered. I have cameras in the house. Check the footage. Rachel looked at the doctor. What cameras? Hidden cameras in every room. I installed them 3 weeks ago. They thought I was delusional. I could see it on their faces. Cardiac patients sometimes experience confusion after prolonged hypoxia. Sometimes they hallucinate or confabulate. Sometimes they invent elaborate scenarios to explain their own negligence. But Rachel called Marcus anyway, and Marcus went to the house, and Marcus found the cameras exactly where I said they'd be. And when the police finally reviewed the footage, they saw everything. They saw Jennifer letting herself into my house on September 26th, 2 days after our confrontation. She came in the evening, after dark, and she went straight to the medication cabinet. But this time, she didn't just take pills. She took the entire bottles, all of them, every single prescription. She put them in her purse and left. They saw her come back on September 28th. She had new bottles with her, the same medications, the same labels. But when she opened them and filled my organizer, the pills were different. Wrong colors, wrong shapes. She was filling my organizer with placebos, with sugar pills, with vitamins that looked close enough to pass a casual glance. They saw her do this 3 more times over the next 10 days. Each time, she'd replace the placebos with fresh placebos, maintaining the illusion that I was taking my medication when I was actually taking nothing. And they saw her on October 7th, the night before my cardiac episode, come into my house at midnight. She let herself in so quietly I didn't wake up. I was asleep in my bedroom with the door closed, and she crept through the house like a ghost. She went to the kitchen. She took my real medications, the ones I hadn't known were missing because I'd been taking the fakes, and she threw them in the trash. Then she took the trash bag outside and put it in her car. She'd cleaned me out. Systematically, carefully, over the course of 2 weeks, she'd replaced all of my real medication with useless placebos, and waited for my heart to give out. And when it did, she'd planned to be the one who found me. She'd planned to be the grieving daughter-in-law who'd tried so hard to take care of me, who'd begged me to let her help, who'd been worried about my confusion and forgetfulness. She'd probably planned to tell the doctors that I'd been refusing to take my pills, that I'd been paranoid and difficult, that this was all so tragic but ultimately my own fault. But I'd called my sister instead, and I'd survived. And now the police had 47 hours of video footage showing premeditated attempted murder. They arrested Jennifer on October 15th, 2024. She was at work in the middle of a sales presentation to a group of cardiologists. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. 2 detectives walked into that conference room, and she knew immediately. I heard later that she didn't even try to run. She just stood up, collected her purse, and asked if she could call her lawyer. They charged her with attempted murder in the first degree, tampering with a consumer product, theft, and elder abuse. The prosecutor was a woman named Diana Stokes, 48 years old, with a reputation for being absolutely ruthless with defendants who targeted vulnerable victims. She came to see me in the hospital while I was still recovering. "Mrs. Drummond, I want you to know we're going to make sure Jennifer Bennett gets everything she deserves." "Her name isn't Bennett," I said. My voice was still hoarse from the intubation. "It's Halston, Jennifer Halston. She's used at least 3 different names that I know of." Diana's eyes sharpened. "Tell me everything." I did. I told her about Karen's investigation, about Timothy Reeves and Douglas Chen, about the pattern of targeting older men and people with access to money, about the forgery and the suspicious death and the settlements that made everything go away. Diana took notes for 2 hours, and when she left, she looked like Christmas had come early. "We're going to bury her," Diana said. The investigation expanded. The police in California reopened the investigation into Douglas Chen's death. Timothy Reeves in Arizona was contacted and agreed to testify about Jennifer's pattern of financial abuse. Karen's entire file was subpoenaed and became part of the official record. And then they found the life insurance policy. Marcus discovered it when he was going through the paperwork at his house, trying to make sense of what his life had become. A life insurance policy on me, taken out 8 months ago in March of 2024. $500,000. Jennifer was listed as the beneficiary. Marcus called me from his lawyer's office. "Mom, did you know about this policy?" "What policy?" "A life insurance policy on you. $500,000. Jennifer's the beneficiary." "I never took out a life insurance policy. Robert had one, but it paid out when he died. I canceled my own policy years ago because the premiums were too expensive. The signature on the application is yours." "It's not mine. I never signed anything." But when the police examined the application, the signature was a very good forgery. Jennifer had power of attorney. She'd used that authority to forge my signature on a life insurance application, listing herself as beneficiary. She'd paid the premiums out of a joint account she'd opened with Marcus, telling him it was for household expenses. $375 a month for 8 months. $3,000 total, a small investment for a $500,000 payout. Diana Stokes added insurance fraud and forgery to the charges. Jennifer's bail was set at $2 million. She couldn't make it. She sat in county jail while her lawyer, a public defender named Mike Hargrove, who looked exhausted just thinking about her case, tried to negotiate a plea deal. Diana refused. "We're going to trial. I want a jury to see exactly who this woman is." I was released from the hospital on October 22nd after 2 weeks of monitoring and medication adjustments and physical therapy to rebuild my strength. Rachel stayed with me for the first week, and then Marcus moved into the guest room. He'd filed for divorce from Jennifer the day she was arrested. She'd tried to call him from jail. He wouldn't take the calls. "I don't know how I missed it," he said one night. We were sitting in the living room drinking tea, and he looked 10 years older than he had 3 months ago. I thought I knew her. I thought I loved her. "She's good at what she does, Marcus. That's why she's done it before. I brought her into your life. I gave her access to you. Mom, I almost got you killed. You didn't know. Neither of us did. She's a predator. She spent years perfecting this. I should have seen it. So should I. We both wanted to believe she was genuine. There's no shame in that. But Marcus was drowning in shame anyway, and I didn't know how to pull him out. He threw himself into work, into making sure I was okay, into preparing to testify at Jennifer's trial. He was so angry, not at me, but at himself, at Jennifer, at the universe for allowing someone like her to exist. The trial started on February 3rd, 2025. It lasted 3 weeks. I testified for 6 hours over 2 days. I told the jury everything: the missing pills, the confusion she tried to create, the video footage, the background investigation, the pattern of behavior with her previous husbands. Diana walked me through it step by step, and I watched the jury's faces as they began to understand the scope of what Jennifer had done. Jennifer's lawyer tried to paint me as a confused elderly woman who'd orchestrated an elaborate fantasy because I didn't approve of my son's marriage. He suggested I'd planted the cameras and manipulated the footage. He suggested I'd hidden my own medication to make Jennifer look guilty. He suggested my cardiac episode was the result of my own negligence, not Jennifer's actions. But the evidence was overwhelming. The video footage showed Jennifer with her own hands removing medication and replacing it with placebos. The insurance policy showed clear financial motive. The background investigation showed a pattern of predatory behavior spanning 2 decades. Douglas Chen's son testified about his father's sudden death. Timothy Reeves testified about the forged loan documents. Karen Wu testified about her investigation. And Marcus testified. He sat in that witness box and told the jury about how Jennifer had manipulated him, how she'd used his love for her to gain access to me, how she'd played the role of devoted daughter-in-law while planning my murder. His voice broke twice. The jury was riveted. The defense called Jennifer to the stand. It was a mistake. She was too confident, too controlled. She denied everything with the same steady voice she'd used when I confronted her in my kitchen. But when Diana cross-examined her, when Diana walked her through the video footage frame by frame, when Diana asked her to explain why she'd replaced my real medication with sugar pills, Jennifer faltered. "I was trying to help her," she said, "by giving her fake pills. I didn't know they were fake. I thought I was organizing her medication." "You thought the pills you bought at CVS and put in prescription bottles were real heart medication?" "I made a mistake. You made multiple trips to Patricia's house over 2 weeks, each time replacing her medication with placebos. That's not a mistake, Ms. Halston. That's attempted murder." "My name is Bennett." "Your name is whatever's convenient for your current con, isn't it? You were Halston when you married Timothy Reeves. You were Chen when Douglas died. You're Bennett now because that's the name you used to marry Marcus Drummond and gain access to his mother's home and her life. How many other names have you used?" Jennifer's lawyer objected. The judge sustained it, but the jury had heard it, and they'd seen Jennifer's face when Diana said it. Cold, calculating, the mask had slipped. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They came back with guilty verdicts on all counts: attempted murder in the first degree, tampering with a consumer product, theft, elder abuse, insurance fraud, and forgery. Jennifer showed no emotion when the verdicts were read. She just stared straight ahead, and I wondered what she was thinking. Was she planning her appeal? Was she angry at herself for getting caught? Did she feel anything at all? Sentencing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. Diana Stokes asked for the maximum, 40 years to life. Jennifer's lawyer asked for leniency, citing her lack of a violent criminal record, her cooperation during the investigation, her remorse. The judge was a man named Arthur Pemberton, 71 years old, who'd been on the bench for 30 years. He looked at Jennifer for a long time before he spoke. "Ms. Halston, I've seen a lot of criminals in this courtroom. Violent offenders, thieves, fraudsters, abusers. But I've rarely seen someone as calculating and remorseless as you. You didn't act in a moment of passion or desperation. You planned Patricia Drummond's death over months. You gained her trust, inserted yourself into her life, and then systematically poisoned her, not with toxins, but by denying her the medication that kept her alive. You watched her decline. You waited for her to die. And when she survived, you showed no remorse, only anger that your plan had failed. You are a danger to society, and you will remain so for as long as you draw breath. I sentence you to 35 years to life in state prison with no possibility of parole for 30 years. I hope you live long enough to serve every single day." Jennifer was led out in handcuffs. She didn't look at Marcus. She didn't look at me. She just walked out of that courtroom with her head high, like she was leaving a business meeting that hadn't gone her way. I felt nothing. No relief, no satisfaction, no vindication, just a vast, hollow exhaustion. But Marcus cried. He cried like I hadn't seen him cry since he was a child, and I held him in the courthouse hallway while Diana Stokes and Karen Wu and Rachel stood around us in a protective circle, and I thought, this is what Jennifer destroyed. Not just my health, not just my sense of safety. She destroyed my son's ability to trust, to love, to believe in the goodness of other people. That, more than anything else, was what I couldn't forgive. The civil suit came next. I sued Jennifer for medical expenses, emotional distress, the cost of Karen's investigation, and the cost of repairing my front door after the paramedics broke it down. The total came to $183,000. Jennifer had no assets. She'd spent everything on maintaining her lifestyle, on the appearance of success, on the long con. I got a judgment, but I knew I'd never see a penny. I didn't care. The point wasn't the money. The point was the public record. The point was making sure that anyone who Googled Jennifer Halston or Jennifer Bennett or Jennifer Chen would find page after page of news articles about the woman who tried to kill her mother-in-law for insurance money. Marcus's divorce was finalized in May of 2025. Jennifer didn't contest it. She couldn't. From prison, she got nothing. Marcus kept the house, the car, everything they'd bought together. He changed his name back to his birth name, dropped the hyphenated version he'd taken when they married. He moved 2 hours away to start over somewhere Jennifer had never been, somewhere without memories. He calls me twice a week. We're rebuilding, slowly, the easy relationship we had before Jennifer. But there's a wound there now, a scar tissue that pulls tight when either of us mentions trust, or family, or love. We don't talk about Jennifer. We don't need to. She's a ghost that haunts us both. Rachel went back to Maine after the trial. She calls every Sunday. She wants me to move in with her, to leave Millbrook and all its bad memories behind. I've thought about it. The house feels different now, violated. Every room reminds me of Jennifer moving through it with her pleasant smile and her hidden agenda. The kitchen reminds me of the medication cabinet. The bedroom reminds me of collapsing on the floor. The deck reminds me of her final visit, her desperate attempt to convince me she'd meant no harm. But this is my house. Robert and I were happy here. I've filled it with good memories and I refuse to let Jennifer take it from me. So I stay. I've changed the locks. I've upgraded the alarm system. I've told everyone in town what happened, and now my neighbors check on me regularly. Mrs. Chen from across the street brings me soup once a week. Mr. Rodriguez next door shovels my driveway without being asked. The mail carrier, a woman named Debbie, knocks on my door if she hasn't seen me in a few days just to make sure I'm all right. I've become the neighborhood cautionary tale, the woman whose daughter-in-law tried to kill her. People treat me with a mixture of sympathy and fascination, like I survived something exotic and terrible. In a way, I suppose I did. I've also become an advocate. I speak at senior centers about elder abuse. I talk about the warning signs, the isolation, the financial control, the medication tampering, the gaslighting. I tell my story over and over, and every time I see recognition in someone's eyes, every time someone approaches me afterward and whispers that they think something similar is happening to them or someone they love, I know it's worth it. Diana Stokes connected me with a nonprofit that helps elder abuse victims. They've asked me to serve on their board. I said yes. If Jennifer taught me anything, it's that evil succeeds when good people are too trusting, too polite, too afraid to make accusations. I won't be that person anymore. I'm 73 years old now. My heart is damaged. The cardiac episode caused some permanent injury that I'll carry for the rest of my life. I get tired more easily. I have to be more careful. But I'm alive. I'm independent. And I'm angry in a way that feels powerful rather than destructive. Karen Wu has become a friend. We have lunch once a month, and she tells me about her current cases, always careful not to reveal confidential information, but giving me enough to satisfy my curiosity. She's working with 3 other potential victims of Jennifer's, people who dated her or were married to her or employed her over the years. 2 of them are considering filing civil suits. 1 is pushing for the California District Attorney to reopen Douglas Chen's case as a homicide. I hope they succeed. I hope Jennifer spends every single day of her 35-year sentence knowing that her past is catching up to her, that every person she ever victimized is coming forward, that her name will forever be associated with greed and betrayal and murder. Is that vindictive? Probably. Do I care? Not even a little bit. The house deed that I mentioned in the beginning, the one I hid. That's metaphorical. What I actually hid was control. Jennifer thought she could manipulate me, steal from me, kill me, and walk away with my life's work. What she didn't understand is that I'm not the confused, helpless old woman she tried to create. I'm a survivor. I raised a child alone. I worked 40 years in a hospital where I saw the worst and best of humanity. I buried a husband I loved. I'm not easy to break. When Jennifer took my medication, she thought she was taking my power. But she was just revealing her own weakness. She needed me dead because she couldn't compete with me alive. She needed Marcus to be grief-stricken and vulnerable because she couldn't hold him through honesty and love. She needed money she hadn't earned because she couldn't build a life through her own work. I didn't just survive Jennifer, I defeated her. And I did it by being smarter, more patient, and more willing to see the truth even when it hurt. The last time I saw Jennifer was at the sentencing. She looked at me once, just before they led her away. I looked back. I wanted her to see that I wasn't afraid anymore. I wanted her to see that she'd lost. I think she did. Because for the first time since I'd known her, Jennifer's mask dropped completely. And what I saw underneath was pure, impotent rage. Good. I hope she carries that rage for 30 years. I hope it eats her alive in her cell. I hope she lies awake every night thinking about the $500,000 she didn't get, the comfortable life she lost, the freedom she threw away because she underestimated a 72-year-old widow. I sleep just fine. Marcus is dating again. Nothing serious yet, but he told me about a woman he met at a continuing education seminar, a speech therapist who makes him laugh. He's cautious now, slower to trust, but he's healing. Last week he told me he'd told this woman about Jennifer, about what happened, and instead of being scared off, she'd said, "Your mom sounds like a badass. I can't wait to meet her." I like her already. Rachel wants to visit next month. She's bringing her husband and their dog, a golden retriever named Murphy who's too friendly for his own good. We'll sit on the deck and drink wine and watch the sunset over the ridge, and I won't think about Jennifer standing in that exact spot lying to my face. Or maybe I will think about it. Maybe I'll always think about it, but I'll think about it from a position of strength rather than fear. The nonprofit is planning a fundraiser gala in September. They've asked me to speak. 200 people, fancy dinner, silent auction. I've never done anything like it before. I'm terrified, but I said yes anyway, because the old Patricia would have said no, would have been too modest or too private or too afraid of drawing attention. The new Patricia knows that silence protects predators. The new Patricia knows that her story might save someone else's life. The new Patricia is done being polite. I've started writing a book, just a few pages every day, telling the whole story in more detail than I can fit into a speech or an interview. Karen is helping me fact-check. Diana is reviewing it for legal issues. Rachel is editing it because my grammar is terrible and I tend to ramble. We're calling it The Long Con How My Daughter-in-Law Tried to Kill Me and What I Did About It. It'll probably never be published, but I'm writing it anyway, because I need to process what happened. I need to transform it from this chaotic, terrifying experience into a narrative I control. Jennifer doesn't get to write my story. I do. Howard Brennan has helped me create a trust. When I die, hopefully not for many years, everything goes into the trust for Marcus. Jennifer can never touch it, no matter what happens. Even if she somehow gets out of prison early, even if she somehow convinces Marcus to take her back, which will never happen, but I'm a belt and suspenders kind of woman now. The trust protects him. It protects everything Robert and I built. I've also updated my will to include substantial donations to the elder abuse nonprofit, to the hospital that saved my life, and to an organization that provides free private investigation services to victims of financial fraud. If Jennifer wanted my money so badly, she's going to hate knowing it went to help people like me recognize and stop people like her. That thought gives me more satisfaction than it probably should. People ask me if I'm angry at Marcus for bringing Jennifer into my life. The answer is no. Marcus was a victim too. He was manipulated by an expert manipulator. The only person I'm angry at is Jennifer, and that anger is pure and clean and entirely justified. People ask me if I've forgiven Jennifer. The answer is absolutely not. Forgiveness is for people who show remorse, who acknowledge harm, who try to make amends. Jennifer has done none of those things. She maintains her innocence. She's filed appeals claiming the video evidence was fabricated, that the jury was biased, that the judge was prejudiced against her. Every single appeal has been denied, but she keeps trying. I hope she keeps trying for all 30 years. I hope she wastes her entire sentence fighting a battle she's already lost. I hope it consumes her. Meanwhile, I'm living. I'm genuinely living, not just surviving. I've taken up watercolor painting. I'm terrible at it, but it's meditative and I like the way the colors blend. I've joined a book club. I've started volunteering at the hospital where I used to work, not as a nurse, but in the gift shop, talking to families and patients and making them feel less alone. I've rediscovered joy. It surprises me sometimes, bubbles up when I'm not expecting it. The taste of good coffee. The way Murphy the dog presses his nose into my palm when he visits. The sound of Marcus laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. The sunset from my deck, the first snow of winter, the purple crocuses that come up every March in the front garden. Jennifer tried to steal my life. She tried to steal my future. She tried to steal my son's love and my community's trust and my own sense of safety in my own home. She failed. I'm still here. I'm still strong. And every day I wake up is another day she's locked in a cell, regretting that she ever thought Patricia Drummond was an easy mark. Because here's what Jennifer didn't understand. I've survived things that would have broken her. I've been a single mother in poverty. I've worked 3 jobs to put food on the table. I've held the hands of dying patients and watched families shatter from grief. I've buried a husband I loved more than life itself. I've lived through pain and loss and fear and kept going anyway. Jennifer thought I was weak because I was kind. She thought I was stupid because I trusted her. She thought I was vulnerable because I was older and needed medication to keep my heart beating. She was wrong on all counts. And now she gets to spend the next 3 decades thinking about that mistake. As for me, I'm done giving Jennifer space in my head. I've told my story. I've warned others. I've made sure she can never hurt anyone else the way she hurt me. That's enough. That's victory. Now I'm going to finish my coffee, call Marcus and hear about his week, water my garden, and maybe paint something terrible and beautiful. I'm going to live my life with the people who actually love me, in the house I actually own, with the freedom I actually earned. And if you're watching this video, if you've listened to my whole story, I want you to take something away from it. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't let anyone make you doubt your own mind. Don't let politeness or fear or love make you ignore red flags. And if someone tries to hurt you, fight back. Document everything. Get help. Use every resource at your disposal. You are stronger than you think. You are smarter than they believe. And you deserve to be safe in your own home, in your own life, with your own family. Don't let anyone take that from you. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love hearing from all of you. And if you want to support the work I'm doing with the Elder Abuse Nonprofit, there's a link in the description where you can donate or learn about warning signs in your own community. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, you're never too old, too trusting, or too kind to protect yourself from people who mean you harm. My name is Patricia Drummond. I'm 73 years old. I survived. And I'm telling you this story so you can survive too.